The half-closed mind, void of and depriving emotional response. A loss, a loss. Yet to lose what? A thing that was never a thing? To be a thing, that thing must have begun, believing that the beginning was no more than half open, if it was even half that, or half that again. If it was open at all, is to believe in something, a beginning. What comes from the beginning is the end, and a lot of questions. What lies between the beginning and the end is what intrigues. And yet to be intrigued by the beginning itself, not to mention the end in its own right, is to begin to understand why the what intrigues the who, when they can't bother to care about the details of where it all began. And the details of where it all began is much more important than those who bother to care about the slit of an opening, the life of a thing, that referring to the span of something living, just the span of something, concern themselves with which is in the middle, using no fore or hindsight. Most of all beginnings are never the beginning, if there is a beginning. They are merely a beginning that spawns from a middle. If there is a middle, then there must have been a beginning, and eventually an end, right? But does the beginning matter? Does it matter how we got to where we are? The so-called important part, the now? Does it matter how or when it will end, or even if it will end? But it must all end, or must it? Linear thought dictates that time is a straight line, and we live from beginning to end, enjoying the middle. Circular thought, which I think maybe, tells us that an end is the beginning, and the middle is the time between, where the many beginnings and ends occur sometimes simultaneously. But whether linear or circular, the body of the living organism is in between and beginning and end of the millions of beginnings and ends according to. Time is relative into each mind, and each mind believes, and is that belief which dictates, which each mind projects upon their lives to make it so, to make it reality. Reality is lost in fantasy, or is that the other way around? And around is the way the circular mind works. Life has a beginning, you are born, a middle, you live, an end, you die. Linear thought is so boring. Perhaps both are correct. Perhaps we all come into existence and live and die. But what if after the linear end becomes a circular thought when it all begins again? Or perhaps there is no circular or linear, but a cluster where birth is pulled from a collective, and death is released back into that collective, and we all have that collective in our souls, our minds, our bodies, and our very beginnings. Perhaps there is a grand design, but those that believe a fallacy, and that fallacy, while making them happy, which is really what matters, is still a fallacy. So a collection of essence of human spirit or soul, or whatever you wish to refer it as, is all around us. And to begin to understand it, you must first understand your limitations, which are none. The collective recycles our essence, but we can also manipulate that essence to our own will, beginning to understand the beginning of what could truly be magnificent and have no beginning or end.